We have been considering throughout this course that conflict comes with leading change. So I want to add more conflict resolution tips and techniques to help you as you move forward. Conflict comes in 4 varieties. Most of us think of it when we see people disagreeing with one another. But we also have internal conflict. Should I stay in this job? Should I leave? And third, we have conflicts with institutions or groups or countries. And this is the basis of great leadership when we learn to fight well. We've seen how Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, and others have used strategies for fighting well to create positive change. 4th type of conflict is with life. For example, people die too young and we suffer a pandemic. These are those types of conflicts where you want to yell at the sky and say, really? This too? Learning that there are 4 types of conflict through my research, it's also been a gift to recognize that the same conflict resolution techniques and skills can be used in all 4 of these areas. So as you gather conflict resolution techniques, know that whenever you have a disagreement or a challenge, you can apply them. For example, remember that you can see any conflict, any challenge as an opportunity. That when conflict comes, to be grateful, as we've discussed, so you'll fight at your best. We want to use both our heads and our hearts in conflict resolution. You want to be both smart, strategic, but also honorable. In the ancient Tibetan Bon tradition, it's said that we want our minds to be sharp and our hearts so open that we could feel a mosquito land on it. From the art of war, we are told to take our enemies whole, or to look for an inclusive solution where everyone comes out better. One of our conflict resolution techniques, thus, is to ask, "Tell me more," and to go for the win-win. When looking for the win-win, it is indeed a huge challenge, but I want to remind you of the Mandurala. As you work to create breakthrough change, it helps to think of the Mandurala as the word "and." How can we care for the environment and do mining successfully? How in healthcare can we care for patients and profits? How, as when I mediated a conflict near Yellowstone National Park, how can wolves be healthy and be a predator that keeps an ecosystem thriving? And how can the ranching industry remain whole? How can we make sure that your needs and another's needs are cared for? Sometimes we will think there's no hope, and our work is understanding what I need and what you need to bring us to a place where there's a huge breakthrough. I want to offer you 4 gifts that you can use at any time in conflict. I use them whenever I'm challenged. One is to ask open-ended questions. The second is to be flexible and have the willingness to laugh at ourselves. Third is to listen and acknowledge all the perspectives. And 4th is to share your own truth. Let's dive into each. Ask open-ended questions. These are transformative questions that cannot be answered with a yes or a no. Conflict makes us stressed. So if you can ask another person a really good open-ended question like, what am I missing here? What would help? What would you love to see happen? This gives you a chance to breathe and recenter, and at the same time get more information about where you stand. Number 2, be flexible. We often run into conflict where I'm holding on too tight to a certain solution, and the other person is also holding on tightly as well. If I can be flexible and willing to brainstorm about options, to look at the problem from many different perspectives, things change. A great way to be flexible is to laugh at yourself. Where am I taking myself too seriously? There's a Zen poem that goes like this: how can I hold tightly with an open hand? How can you hold on tightly to what you hold dear, but flexibly at the exact same time? When you're looking for a win-win solution, we need to listen to all the stakeholders. What do you want? What do I want? What might be possible? So as you listen, acknowledge what you're hearing. Acknowledgement is to let the other person know you've heard what they've said. It does not mean that you agree with it. This is important. How can you let me know that you've heard the content of my message, the emotion behind it, and the overall impact? So, for example, if I told you I lost my job and you said, "Oh, I hear you lost your job," I would probably get more crazy and say, "Oh my goodness, do you not understand? What I really want from you is, oh, you lost your job. And I'm recognizing you won't be able to go on a vacation." The difference is you allow me to know that you've heard what, for me, is critical. This helps me as your opponent to calm down and be more willing to share my perspective. And together we can find solutions. And last, it's important not only to listen, but also to share your own truth. This is harder than it sounds. You want to share what's true for you and recognize that you need to speak from a place of I am offended is much truer than you are offensive. Saying I am offended, I am afraid, I am nervous, I want to learn more, I'm missing something is much truer and helps the other to hear us. I want to leave you with this quote: do not judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds you plant. After 2 decades of supporting leaders like you, it is amazing to see what planting tiny seeds can yield. I'm cheering you on.